as well as his
Wait, I have a little bit of an update. Sorry for interrupting you. We managed to fix the live stream, so we are now live on YouTube. There is a link on our Twitter. It's in the pinned tweet. So like I said, you can find us on Twitter at _creepycorner. And yeah, you can watch our beautiful faces live and comment to us live, hopefully, if nothing else is like wrong. But yeah, thank you for your patience. Sorry, go on. I'm so sorry for interrupting.
No, it's fine. I'm glad we've got it up and so everyone can see how brilliantly creepy I look just for the occasion. I don't know about yourself. I'm not going to make any comments. But no, in JFK, officially, there were 3 shots fired. However, only 2 of them hit, and the third one was classed as a miss. The whole situation was caught by a videographer named Abraham Zapruder. I apologize if I butcher that. It's quite obviously not the easiest name to say. And the official story is that the shooter was Lee Harvey Oswald in the 6th floor of the Texas school.
Was it a school?
No, it wasn't a school. It was the school sort of book library. Yes, I'm going to say library.
I thought it was like a factory or something.
No. I'm just quickly going over the notes I've sort of made. It seems to have sort of been. Yeah, it seems to have been just where most of Texas's school books were kept. Okay. Lee Harvey Oswald happened to work there and used his access to the building for the perfect vantage point. Officially, that is the full story. Lee Harvey Oswald shot JFK, tried to escape. In the process, he also took out a revolver and shot another policeman, which was confirmed as the shot killing the policeman was quite easily connected to the revolver he was found with. Yeah, that one's obviously, compared to killing the President of the United States, the occasional policeman doesn't sound like much, but a life's still a life. However, quite obviously, there is a lot more to this story that a lot of people would either say is fact or fiction. And today, we're here to discuss, well, whether we believe that is the case.
Yes, I think one of the things that always has interested me the most is all the theories about like the bullets and stuff, like all the directions and like how it couldn't really be like plausible for them to be shot by the same person.
Yes, that's actually got its own theory, known as the magic bullet theory. Yes, in the fact that somehow the second bullet that hit John F. Kennedy through the throat also managed to hit his associate in the car both through the back, coming out, which eventually came out of his chest through the right below the nipple of all places, through his arm, and eventually landed in his thigh, and somehow still managed to be an entire bullet. It was unbroken, unshattered. It just sort of got lodged in his thigh.
Because that's the thing. I don't know much about bullets, but like sometimes you can just have something special going on. Like
yeah. Well, that's the thing with this theory is a lot of people do believe that the trajectory for that to happen is magic and impossible, but as the bullet would have had to go opposite from the direction it was shot and manage to ricochet off all of these bones within a man's body and just get stuck in his lap and still be in one piece. However, what people don't really know is that the trajectory for this bullet is entirely possible. It is being tested both virtually and obviously with dummies, and it due to the back seat in which JFK was sat in, the trajectory is entirely possible and quite easily replicated, as he was slightly elevated other than his associate, and that's all it took for the trajectory to be completely changed and for the bullet to land where it did.
Also, another thing that I think is important to know that I don't think many people take into account is that it was a moving vehicle. So that, when, if I've learned anything from crime shows and all that stuff, it's they do this, they have these sticks that they put through bullet holes and stuff, but you can't really do that in a moving vehicle because obviously even if the shooting point is the same, the target is different. I'm explaining myself really poorly, and this might be a bit harder to explain on the radio, all the different trajectories.
Yeah.
So what are the what conspiracies do you have there?
Oh well, there's quite a few around this, but the main big theories are about who done it. So obviously, everyone does know that the main shooter, that it was who was supposed to be done for this before getting assassinated himself before the trial by I believe the man's name was something Ruby.
That's
Jack Ruby, there it is.
How can it not be super sus that this person?
Oh, we'll touch on about that very soon. But no, the main belief, and the belief that many people do agree on, is that Lee Harvey Oswald was the one who did shoot the president, and that in his getaway he quite quickly failed, got caught, and on his way to the jury was assassinated himself by Jack Ruby, who...
Why would he want to do that?
His official statement was that it was an act of pure revenge, and obviously that is quite easily sort of believed, since I can imagine many Americans would be peeved that their president had just been assassinated so publicly and violently as well.
Mm-hmm.
However, there is a lot of things that don't really make sense, not only with the shooting itself, but the full coincidence that led up to it. For one, quite obviously, the president had a very open parade, very little protection over both himself, his family, and everyone else in the car. And the route itself was very, very dangerous in the fact that...
Was it? I never thought of the route being one of the main factors.
But that's the thing. It's not one of those things that many people think into, but the route itself had many turns, meaning the car most of the time was going at a slow speed to make these turns.
Politicians do that all the time, and even in rallies and stuff, they can still get shot. Didn't that kid from the UK go all the way to the US to try and shoot Trump in one of his rallies? You kind of that's the thing. I don't want to entice anything, but I am kind of surprised with how controversial and stuff Trump is. How there's barely been any assassination attempts, because security is very tight, but at the same time you're in the open a lot of the time.
Yeah, and like you do say, people like Trump are, especially presidents are always controversial people. They can never keep everyone happy. It is simple as that. It's a fact of life. But that was the thing about this, is the fact that it was an unnecessary risk they were taking.
Mm.
They could quite have easily took a similar route with less turns, which would have allowed them to move faster, get through the parade faster, get the president to safety, as well as that the route itself.
He was a people pleaser.
He was a very big people pleaser. The more you get into it,
kind of, but he kind of flipped up in Cuba a bit. But anyway, that's beside the point. But sorry to rush you, but I want to fit as much conspiracies and information as possible, and I don't want to run out of time.
No, I do know.
If you could go on with the meaty details.
Yes, meaty details. So the route itself was seen as very risky and very checked by both his security. Oh yeah, his security never checked any building for potential shooting spots.
Well, I guess because that's the problem. Most of the time, we only take precautions once things have happened. A lot of airport security measures and stuff got a bit tighter. Well, a bit, not a lot tighter after 9/11. So like sometimes like you have to have like terrible things happen in order for security measures to happen. Although I'm not sure because like I was gonna say maybe there weren't like any like fucking murder attempts to presidents, but like Abraham Lincoln, what?
Yeah, it could. Like that's.
And he was in the theater. He wasn't even out in the open. He was in the theater.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where at a time, but you've got to think they were in the middle of a Cold War. They were very close to war.
When hasn't the US been in the middle of something? Like,
yeah, we can always just chalk that up to everyone just thinking the president would have been safe in Texas of all places. But no, there are, to this main story, there are 4 main theories. And the first one is that Lyndon B. Johnson, the man who was in the car with JFK when he got shot, and the second man to have got shot but somehow survive, was also the man behind the assassination as JFK getting back as a president made sure he lost a lot of power both in the Senate and just how he looked as a person. It made him very emasculated. It made him feel very sort of out of power and sort of like he was given the middle finger by the president. Yeah, he quite quickly got downgraded and sort of scoffed on. And apparently some unnamed woman who was a acquaintance of well, in her words, was an acquaintance of Lyndon. Apparently, Lyndon had talked about this action literally the night before of the assassination at a party, saying, and I quote, "After tomorrow, those Kennedys will never embarrass me again. Not a threat, but a promise."
What about the whole like alien stuff?
Aliens?
You haven't looked into that conspiracy? Oh my god! Okay,
I haven't went that far down the rabbit hole.
So basically, it's not even that far. I'm surprised you haven't found it. So basically, he I haven't really like looked into this because like I don't know how to word this because like saying that I really like the JFK assassination conspiracy theory sounds really but like it is really interesting. And, like,
I love it when a good president gets murdered.
Like how do you say that? But anyway, I always kind of watch documentaries and stuff, and so like I haven't really watched that much stuff or like taken notes about it recently because like that was like your thing for today. But I think one of the theories was that like since the Roosevelt scandal and like the Area 51 thing, he wanted to know more because he was talking about like
how the
like
I know what you're getting at
the intelligence in the US like keeping stuff from the president because like I think the Area 51 was only confirmed like officially to the public by the government like not that long ago, like what, like 10 years ago, or even less, like super recently. And
I get what you're on about. You're on about the CIA doing it, aren't you? Yes, right.
So I think there was something about, and I wish, well, maybe I can Google it. I'm not sure because it's probably going to be long-winded.
I do still have some notes about it. The main, if I'm reading you correctly, the CIA wanting to kill JFK because of such things was a thing. Is the fact that JFK was causing quite a bit of a stir for the CIA. He was changing both their organization and completely rewiring and reorganizing those who worked there. And quite obviously, people didn't like that. So one of the main theories is that the CIA worked with the mafia. Now, it's not confirmed which mafia, however, because there is a total of 3 organized mafias that have all taken responsibility for the assassination of JFK.
No, I did it. No, I did it.
Yeah,
no,
it's me, like a bunch of children.
No, it's the babushka lady. Everybody knows that.
Babushka. No, the mysterious babushka lady.
Yes, go on.
She is a combination of
a babushka.
A babushka and a lady. But of 2 mysterious people who
were the 2 kids in the trench coat. New conspiracy: 2 kids in the trench coat.
2 kids in the babushka lady was 2 kids in a trench coat. But no, 2 mysterious figures that were both spotted acting extremely strangely around the around the assassination was as we've always said, the babushka lady and the equally conspiracy-fueled Umbrella Man.
What names? They're like...
It is straight out of a sci-fi. Yeah,
like...
it's straight out of Umbrella Man. Straight out of like sci-fi conspiracy movie. It's just perfect recipe for it. But no, a man claiming to be the Umbrella Man did come forward during trials and came forward with the apparent umbrella that he held. This umbrella holds quite a lot of significance as it's seen as either one, the spy weapon that was one of the many mysterious shots that were never found that were taken at the president. So a lot of people believe that this umbrella that this man held, because, may I just add, for people who don't know, the day JFK got assassinated, completely sunny, not a spot of rain at all.
Oh yeah, that's true. What the heck? I didn't
this man just
maybe
stood
it was just
in
for the sun. I mean, I've seen weird stuff. Like,
here's what he said at the trial. He said that him standing with this umbrella was a form of what's the word for it? Sort of, not aggression, but a form of protest. That was it.
That's a word, protest.
Because apparently in politics, not worldwide, not just in the US, but apparently in politics, the symbol of an umbrella is a symbol of appeasement, of just doing what your enemies want to keep them happy. And this man wasn't happy with the Kennedy family for their apparent previous political gains thanks to appeasement. So he went to the parade, and as soon as he saw JFK and thought he could see the umbrella, he popped up the umbrella and just stood there with it. And apparently he didn't run after the shots were fired because he didn't see the president get shot. I mean, it's not like hearing bullets and everyone screaming and running would be enough for me to go, oh my word, what the hell is going on? But no, this guy just went, oh, I'm just going to sit down on the curb now.
But I think it's also like interesting to like comment, because like I don't know how much people know about these things. But like I think one of the theories was that he had a shotgun concealed in the umbrella.
Yeah, that was the thing. It wasn't exactly a shotgun. It was
like a trick gun.
It's a specifically designed spy gun. Yeah. And I think that sounds so much cooler because like
it sounds so cool.
It makes him sound like the Penguin. Like he just went
like
bang. And he just Hagrid and just killing the president with like the unspoken curse of Harry Potter.
We're getting to 25 past, so if you have any conclusions, because I think we're only going to have time for another conspiracy. But luckily we have more time next week. But yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, we can always talk about this more often. But apart from the Umbrella Man, the main and the Mafia and CIA doing it, is the fact that Oswald might have been working with the Russian government. However, I highly doubt this theory purely because of how easy of a target Oswald was, and the fact that he had just come back from Russia after trying to join the Soviet Russians and completely renounce his US citizenship. And failing to do that, he'd already tried to assassinate another political person, and he was just too easy of a target. And with the tension that was already going on in between Russia and America, having such an obvious target person be your target would just be too risky. Making the person who kills the president someone who's so obviously working for Russia, being a Russian spy, that's just asking for war. Even no Russian diplomat or anyone would give the green light for such a plan.
It's just so it's just the whole thing that he killed JFK and then someone killed him. It's even if it wasn't true, all the conspiracies and all that, it's again
that's just going down the rabbit hole. It's literally everyone believes that Oswald was killed purely to be kept quiet.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, it to such a point that literally 70% of like people in America believe these conspiracies. Meanwhile, only 32% of people find the government's findings acceptable.
Yeah. Well, I looked up the alien thing, and I can't go like too in depth with it, but apparently Ancient Aliens covered it, so the best source ever. But it's still fun. But yeah, so the theorists proposed the possibility that John F. Kennedy was assassinated in order to keep the truth about aliens on Earth from getting out. Yeah.
That one does sound very tinfoily hat.
Yeah, it does.
But yes, again, we can always look deeper into this for those who would love to hear more. But for now, let's move on to a different but more close to home theory. Is that all right? Or would you want to go over one of yours?
Yeah, well, I mean,
go on.
Okay, so I am going to go over conspiracy theories about the death of none other than Miss Marilyn Monroe. So yeah, let's just go on. So Marilyn Monroe was 36 years old when she was found dead, face down and naked on her bed on August 5th, 1962. So Sergeant Jack Clemens was the first person to arrive at the scene, and he straight away believed that was staged, that it was a murder, and I kind of believe him because policemen are trained for these kinds of things. Like, they're used to seeing crime scenes, they're used to seeing foul play, and I can definitely believe that a policeman would be able to tell foul play apart from suicide. And also just I'll go into all the details, but so many other things that Clemens pointed out were so suspicious. But yeah, the housekeeper, which is a very important character in this story, she lets him in, and when they go over the story, basically the story was that around, I think it was 10 at night, according to the housekeeper, by the way, which she kept changing the story all the time, so it's a bit hard to get the exact details, but basically around 10 p.m. She saw that Marilyn's bedroom light was on, and allegedly, according to some stories, because like I said, so many things change from person to person and interview to interview. She was talking on the phone, and then when she went back around midnight, she saw that she was still on the phone, which was rare, and she was still with her lights on, which was rare at that time. So they knocked on the door, they didn't get an answer, and this is where it all gets really messy, because like I said, everyone always keeps changing their story, but essentially what they did is they called one of Marilyn's physicians, which I have their names around here. I'll find them later. But yeah, they called one of the physicians. They tried to open the door. They couldn't, so they tried to get in through the window. And essentially, they just found her dead and found a ton of bottles of medication in her bedside table. And they immediately declared that, she had consumed them and died from that. But like I said, all the details changed. So the events from that day, which I think are very interesting, are the following. So according to the handyman that worked at Marilyn's house, which was also never interviewed or anything, the housekeeper was fired that morning. But also I forgot a very important detail. I don't know. Sorry.
Almost forgot.
Almost forgot. But yeah, because like I said, there's so many layers to this. But I don't know if people know, because I'm pretty sure people are aware or at least have heard of Marilyn's affair with JFK, John F. Kennedy.
Yes, I was going to mention that. But
a thing that I think a lot of people don't know is that she also had an affair with Kennedy's brother, Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah, the Kennedys were always known for getting around JFK himself. He would reportedly have sex with everyone, to the point where if he didn't have sex 3 times a day, he would get headaches.
I don't know how true that is.
It's well documented. Like, he was very open about this. The fact that he was just a machine who needed to get rid of this relief. But yeah, and Marilyn Monroe did happen to be one of these people, and that adds to many of the conspiracies of why she was.
Yeah, because like I'm gonna say wait. Okay, I have so much information. But yeah, at some point during that day, because I'm gonna rewind. I'm gonna take it back a bit. I'm gonna tell you a bit of context. But John F. Kennedy and Marilyn Monroe were introduced by actor Peter Lawford. The dates are also very conflicting. I wish I had more detailed timelines, but yeah, apparently they were kind of introduced to each other around the 50s, mid 50s. So also Peter Lawford, the guy that introduced them both, married one of JFK's sisters. So he was basically in the family, and Marilyn was also a friend. So she was very decently involved.
She was very
with
close
the Kennedys,
to the Kennedys, yeah.
So they also had as a mutual friend Frank Sinatra, which is kind of very involved in all this, which is very weird in my opinion. But anyway, Lawford Beach House is where they did a lot of parties and where allegedly most of the affairs and stuff took place. And it was bugged because something that I found really funny, which isn't really funny, but is that everyone was bugging everyone. So like I said,
it was the Cold War. Nothing was safe.
So the mafia was trying to bug Marilyn because
they wanted dirt on her. They wanted control.
They wanted to expose the Kennedys, so they needed reasons to expose them. So they bugged Marilyn. Then who else bugged? So many people bugged each other. I have so much information. I didn't know I had that many. But Jimmy Hoffa was one of the main guys. He was in the opposition of Kennedy. He was one of the main guys that was interested. He wasn't in the mob, I don't think, but he was also very interested in exposing all of their tea. So after Marilyn Monroe sang the famous "Happy Birthday, Mr. President," which, by the way, mind you, was on his request, which I didn't know, and makes everything so much fishier. That night is the only night where
you wonder why people thought we slept together.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I was gonna say. From that night on, all the rumors of them being together fueled a lot. And that night is the only night where they have pictures together, and where they're talking JFK, Bobby, and her, and a lot of pictures of being tried to expose them, but they've all been lookalikes and stuff.
Yeah, despite of how many enemies JFK had and how well bugged they were, there wasn't much information people could grab about the family. Anything that they didn't want to get out, which is quite amazing to me, because especially in this day and age of the age of information, and even back then, it's so hard nowadays to keep things secret. So especially as the president, whose family are all making enemies, it's amazing that they had so little information on them.
That's one thing that I wanted to talk about, but we're probably not going to have any time. But I wanted to talk about Kurt Cobain's death conspiracy, and how the only thing that keeps me from thinking that Courtney Love did it is that I honestly, I don't want to be mean. I have a very conflicting opinion about her, but at the same time, I know she's a person that's struggling a lot. She struggled a lot throughout her whole life. But I honestly don't believe that if she had any involvement with it, she would have kept quiet. And that's the only reason why I think she didn't do it. But that's a subject for a different day.
I'm going to go back to let's keep that one for another day.
Yes. So essentially, Marilyn was in a bit of a situation because she was both involved in the mafia. She wasn't directly involved with the mafia. She wasn't doing any mafia mob activity, but she was associated with people that were associated with people in the mob, and she was also associated with communists, which wasn't really that rare in the actor environment. But at the same time, communists were being spied on by the government, so that
she was right in the middle of this theoretical war zone that's going on in the middle of like a political war zone.
And like I always found it hard to believe like all that theory of like her wanting to know things about the government, because like I don't really like, why would she really need that information? But apparently there's like interviews about this like from this hairdresser that he was the Kennedy's hairdressers, and they got him to work for Marilyn, and she told him that she didn't want to get her hair done. She wanted to know like things about the government. And apparently from like some of the bugged conversations, they are heard talking about like the whole like Cuba situation and like Fidel Castro and everything. So like at one point, what?
Sorry to interrupt, but like I also kind of find that hard to believe that she was wanting so much information. So not to be mean to the girl and not to play on stereotypes or anything like that, but it was well known she wasn't the brightest bulb.
Poor woman, she just wanted to be happy and have a family. Poor girl.
She could have been a good woman, and as far as I know, she probably was, but it was publicly known she wasn't the brightest bulb in the box.
She used to go to parks and theme parks like this guys to like watch children and family, because she like the only thing that she wanted in
that's
life was,
really cute nowadays, isn't it? Going to watch children and families.
The only thing that she wanted in life is to be a private, like it's just a mother, just a regular mother. She could never do that. But anyway, I'm gonna go back to the weird conspiracy stuff.
Yes.
Anyway. So at one point when like the government and everything, they thought that she was getting like too close and like too public and everything, they basically told them to stop contacting her. And she got very angry because at some point apparently Bobby told her that he was going to leave his wife for her. Ooh. And he didn't. So she was very angry, and she told a couple of friends, she threatened to do a press conference and just expose their asses. And also the whole like information thing, like which I forgot, like she apparently like they got a hold of her diary, and she had a lot of entries that started with Bobby said this, Bobby said that, and like talking about like government stuff, like maybe not in like super detailed like telegram format, but like it was like, oh yeah, tea. But so yeah, she like, according to her words, she was sick of them playing with her. And yeah, like a lot of FBI documents were released like not that long ago, like a lot of years after all this happened, like in between so many of them that it just got lost, about like all these like taped conversations and everything.
Yeah,
so it's
like lost with those like, nice big air quotes right there. That
just casually
lost. Well, yeah, that was one of the things which again connects it connects both our theories really, is the fact that when it came to the investigations for both of these, even though they were separate, is the effort in both of these investigations was very questionable. Like like Marilyn Monroe's death, a lot of investigators just went, this happened.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I haven't even like started to talk about like the crime scene and everything that was fishy about like her autopsy and everything. But like I'm gonna just briefly like sum up like all the like the context and stuff. But basically, Sinatra, which was in the middle of everything, he organized this party to like try and convince Marilyn so she didn't do the press conference. And also the FBI investigated later on that a book was also going to expose their affair, so that wasn't good. But
would have sold well, like.
And I don't know if it came out, but like they just investigated that it was going to come out. Oh yeah, another fishy thing, which like with timeline wise, is that her press secretary, was it? No, her publicist, I think. Let me just. So many names, so much information. Anyway, someone received a call. Jacobs. I remember he was called Jacobs, but I forget. He was like one of Marilyn's employers, essentially. He received a call at around 10:30, and he like, there's interviews of his wife like talking about how she specifically remembers it being in the middle of a concert, so like that's checkable, that Marilyn was dead, and that was around 10:30. So the housekeeper said that like the suspicious activity had started at like midnight. But another thing, which is very fishy, is that they only called police at around like 4 a.m. And they tried to like make excuses as to what like took them so long. And like their main one was like, oh, we had to check with like their like 20th Century Fox or like their publicist or whatever, like their production basically, like before they released.
Oh,
the
so
yeah,
so like the full thing was they tried to make it hush hush for so long before even attempting to
that's
call
the thing.
police.
Another thing which I don't know if I kept talking about, but essentially that day of her death, I was going to say suicide, but it wasn't suicide. But the day of her death, apparently Lawford and Bobby went to her house and they had a very bad argument, and apparently this is all taped also. Like, I've tried to look for the tapes, but like obviously it's not going to be that easy.
No,
but like I trust I trust the articles that I've researched. But anyway, it shows like a big argument, blah blah blah. And then at some point afterwards in that day, apparently they came back again. And apparently that's where like she's suspected to have died, because at some point apparently you can hear like noises and stuff and like her screaming, and then you hear like a slam or something and you can't hear it anymore. So yeah, it's believed that not only Bobby and the housekeeper and Lawford and everything, it's believed that like a lot of people were involved in this.
I was going to say, how many like suspects do we have at this point?
That's the thing. It's like
far too many.
Because like, it's very hard to like pinpoint who did exactly what. Because like everyone was covering each other up, and like if this happened, obviously.
Yeah.
But so not long after this ordeal happened, and allegedly she was killed, a police officer, which was also interviewed, remembers stopping them, like both Bobby and Lawford. They were in the same car, and they were speeding, getting away from town. So that's a bit suspicious as well.
Yeah, because anyone who's innocent's totally going to go like 60 in the 50 zone, ain't they?
So in the autopsy, because like it was reported that there was wait, let me find the exact numbers. But essentially there was like too many, like a lot of pills, and there was no like glass of water or anything to like swallow them with. And also in the autopsy, apparently like some of the pills had yellow dye, and they didn't find that yellow dye in her stomach, but they did find the barbiturates in her liver, and it was very strange. And they also found that her large intestine was swollen, which could have indicated that she could have died from an overdose, but like inserted as an enema. Or like yeah.
Oh,
or
what a way to go!
An injection, like in her like rectum, essentially.
Oh God, what a way to die!
Yeah.
Just the last thing you see is a massive syringe.
We don't really know if she like died first, and that was just like cover up, because like everything was so covered up.
Yeah, there's so much things that just don't add up.
Like
this.
One of her biographers says, both the forensic work and the police investigations were hopelessly flawed. Like, first of all, they never like straight away they treated it as a suicide, so they never like treated her house as a crime scene. They never fenced anything off. They never took any of the items. Never took anything. And apparently, when they got there at I don't know how much a.m. the washing machine was going. Which is weird, because like I don't know what time you usually do your laundry, but like I usually don't do it at 4 a.m.
I don't know, like student life does.
Well, yeah, I was thinking about it like
I've been up at like stupid o'clock in the morning and went, you know what, can't sleep, fuck it, I'm just gonna put some laundry on.
But wait, there's another FBI document that was uncovered that suggests that Kennedy was aware and perhaps a participant to a plan to, like what the document says, like quote literally, plan to induce her suicide. It's a 3-page report. It's very detailed, and like I said, I haven't seen it myself, but it's what the articles say. But also, like another thing that kind of quote unquote helped them and like making the public believe that this was a suicide is that she had a history of like being suicidal and having suicide attempts. So that would make this whole theory much more believable. And actually, like, there's a quote in the document that I read that was terrible, because like I can't find it, but it basically said, like, very condescendingly, like, oh yeah, she does this all the time, like it's not gonna be like.
Yeah, she mentally she wasn't in the best of places, was she? Because she did have a lot of pressure on her.
But that's the thing, like, a lot of people report her being like very depressed at that time, but a lot of people also report her being all right, because like she had recently been fired by 20th Century Fox, because like apparently it was like really hard to work with her. She never really was on set and everything, and they fired her. But apparently she was going to renew her contract at some point, and there were also rumors that she was going to remarry one of her 3 ex-husbands. So according to like some of her close friends, she was like excited for the future, and she was talking about the future and all that stuff, which, I mean, unfortunately that can all change with a spur of the moment decision. But at the same time, it's just like the whole thing of like, oh, that many amount of like pills being not found, but also not found in her stomach, I think is just suspicious. But so apparently her psychiatrist, Greenson, which was the name that I was looking for before and I couldn't find, prescribed Seconal tablets and gave her a prescription for 60, an unusual quantity, especially since he saw her frequently. And also, like, she had like 2 physicians, which, since she had like a ton of problems with like drugs and alcohol and depression and stuff, they always made sure to check with each other before prescribing anything to her. So that made it all, because like after all that happened, they were like, oh yeah, it's our fault, because we probably just were like, it was a miscommunication, and she probably just like, because, sorry, I do that all the time. I'm just moving my chair. I can't sit on a turning chair without turning all the time. It's like one of those
I'll have
rocking
to strap
chairs.
you down next time.
It's like one of those rocking chairs, but like side to side. It's the same thing. I can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just very fishy, especially since they said that they were gonna try and be careful not to prescribe her like anything fishy. Also, like, there's a few different like reports about her being on the phone, because like a ton of articles and stuff say that she was found lying on her phone. So maybe she called for help. Maybe she called. Apparently she called Lawford and told him to say goodbye to everyone. But if he was involved, of course he is gonna. I don't know, just like tell a story that like kind of goes with suicide.
Yeah, it helps, benefits for him, sort of, in the best of ways.
But allegedly there were some calls like that night that, I don't know if it was Bobby or Lawford, but like someone did, just to check if she was actually dead. So in that FBI document that kind of talked about how they were all involved and stuff, the reason for the plan is not spelled out, but the document hints that it could have been motivated by her threats to make her affair public. Sorry for moving the chair. But yeah, and also during a 1983 interview, one of her biographers, he reports the housekeeper at some point saying, she put like her head in her hands and said something to the effect of, "Oh, why do I keep covering this up?" And the guy said, "Covering what up, Miss Murray?" And she said, "Well, of course, Bobby Kennedy was there. And of course, there was an affair with Bobby Kennedy. So at least we know for sure that there was an affair with Bobby Kennedy."
Yes.
But yeah, apparently a lot of her like autopsy like details and stuff were left out.
The full thing does sound extremely fishy. Like, again, like you say, there's a lot of things where there's certain marks being missed, certain things that just aren't adding up, stories are being changed, and again, there was a lot of pointers towards this being murder, and there was a lot of reason for her being murdered. She had a lot of both political and sort of career leverage on people. Despite being known for not being the brightest bulb in the box, she still had quite a lot of power in her hands, and she knew that, and so it would make sense that would, or especially with playing with such big players like the president's family, you are playing with fire there. So it does make sense that eventually something like this would come and bite her in the ass when she's starting to make big claims like, I'm going to expose your presidential family because you won't leave your wife to be with me.
Yeah.
That is well and truly poking the bear with a stick. Like it would make sense.
At some point people also report her being scared of her own life and her saying like, oh, they're coming after me. But at the same time, that's a very like frequent thing between like celebrities and people that are in the public eye that are involved with like very touchy subjects, and especially when they're involved with drugs, they get really paranoid and they get really like worried, and that's a very frequent thing. Like a lot of times when a celebrity gets like, I don't know, like killed or just dies in like very strange circumstances, they might have said something like that in the past and people just catch on to that because it's like, oh, they said that. And it's like, it doesn't necessarily have to be that because like, I don't know, I would also be paranoid if I was sleeping with the president, like with the president and his brother. But
both married men who just had like they were, even though JFK was known for being quite promiscuous, like his brother certainly wasn't, and I highly doubt he wanted that image. So it's just thinking of what these people of so much power could do just to silence this.
Yeah, and also like going back to the whole alien stuff.
Aliens getting bought into this one as well.
I mean, kind of, but not really. Like one of the conspiracies is that she was killed because she knew a lot about the aliens in the Roswell incident.
Oh, right.
So yeah, and obviously, like with every conspiracy theory of like celebrity deaths, another conspiracy is that she's still alive.
Oh, is she having some martinis with Tupac?
Yeah, some
and
Cuban
Elvis.
cigars. I mean, honestly, for like some other celebrities, I would find that more believable. And actually, like today, if we had time, we were going to talk about Tupac and his conspiracy theories surrounding his death. And I feel like he is one of the biggest celebrities that has been rumored to like
still be alive. Yeah.
And like honestly, not that I believe it. To be honest, I don't. But like, there's quite a lot of evidence. Like he was really kind of like memeing everyone.
Well, we can always look into that in the future.
Yes.
Oh, talking about the future, we are running short on time already. Sadly,
yes, I am very sad that we're not going to be able to talk about more conspiracy theories. Well, we do still have around 5 minutes, but I think I'm going to take a couple of these minutes to talk about like more or less what we're going to do the rest of the days.
Yes.
So yeah, we're planning on doing this about all things creepy, and like I said, we have our social media if you want to suggest anything or comment on anything or give your own theories. So it's @_creepycorner on Twitter and on Instagram, and you can find us on YouTube at Caleb and Pinkie's Creepy Corner. And usually it's very hard to find new channels on YouTube, but there will be links on the Twitter. And yeah, there you can rewatch our shows if you've missed them. You can watch our live streams. The one today was a bit flawed, but we promise we'll make it a bit better for next time. We're just getting started. Yes, and well, like Caleb said at the beginning, we're gonna do a bit of everything, really, from like just fiction, truth, aliens, ghosts, conspiracies, celebrities, just everything.
We've got a lot planned for the future, but again, we would love to hear anything that you guys would like to hear about. I mean, the JFK one, we're probably going to go back into just because there's
so many other things to talk about that I don't want to like miss out.
No, exactly. Like we've got that much to talk about, and we can go so in depth into millions of these different theories. That's like we're going to be around here for a while, whether you like it or not.
And also another like mini conspiracy theory for like a couple minutes that we have left. Apparently, another one of JFK's lovers died in strange circumstances. Her name was Mary Pinchot Meyer, and she was the sister-in-law. She was the sister-in-law of a famous Washington Post editor, and she was murdered in Georgetown in October 1964. And she was shot twice at close range, and her death hasn't been resolved. And that was not long after Marilyn. Like that was a couple years afterwards.
Damn, it was apparently really dangerous to try and get into the pants of Kennedy. Who would,
all of them
after a track record that bad, who would go near such a man? Like, I mean, he was, I can imagine him being quite attractive while his head was still in one piece, but
well, I think
hearing that most people that sleep with him die, probably not worth the risk.
When did 63? So he died a year. He died a year later than Marilyn. So this woman was killed a year later than Kennedy's death.
But that's why I think the connection of the CIA is quite interesting. Is the fact that
don't presidents have like just a slight percentage of access to secret like?
Oh, they don't have access at all. You'd be very surprised. They are just, yes, they kind of do have power, but there's also quite a lot they aren't allowed to know. Yes, they technically are the highest ranking official in America, but it doesn't mean they need to know everything.
Yeah, well, but at the same time, it's their country, so I would expect them to know like important stuff that if it's kept secret, it's because it's important enough.
Just look at the NSA thing that happened, where it was found out that they were tapping millions of American citizens, and apparently Obama had no clue this was going on. And somehow the president of the United States did not know that millions of people were getting illegally wiretapped just to make sure they weren't terrorists.
Maybe they do know, but they just use it as a cop-out.
Well, that's the thing, is that with how deep all of this goes, we'll never know the truth. We can just, again, make theories and speculate. We can always just hope that we are correct. Because there's many things. I mean, a good example of conspiracy theory being right is, again, around about the same time, is the MK Ultra thing.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that one.
If you said,
and for all the people that are not familiar with the MK Ultra project, Stranger Things is essentially based around it. So
yeah,
you might be interested in that.
It doesn't go as extra-dimensional. It was just it was just basically giving loads of people LSD illegally, may I just add, beyond their will, and then just sort of seeing what happens. But again, if you had said that before people knew it happened, they'd just think you're crazy. Oh yeah, the government's just forcing people to eat stupid amounts of LSD.
Well, it gets a bit deeper than that.
Yeah,
that's
but
definitely a subject for
another time. However, I'm sadly going to have to stop both of us right there, as we are running very close out of time.
Yes, we are. Thank you so much for joining us in our first installment, and thank you so much for your support so far in social media. We'll definitely keep you guys updated and bring you some more content, and also let us know if you want us to go in depth into the conspiracy theories and maybe just do a couple of them in each show, or if you wanted us to do a bit shorter ones, maybe not go as in depth, but be able to tackle more subjects. So
I think we could try and argue ourselves a bit more extra time. I mean, especially with how deep we could potentially go with these.
Yeah, we could definitely go for a couple hours. But yes.
Till next week, we will see you next Monday in our very own Creepy Corner.